But by and large, the GOP has proven that it's really only important to them if they can pay lip service to it. The reality is, they are more than willing to silence the voices of people who they disagree with, so long as it will guarantee that they get their way. And in this case, that's the way of the gun lobby. Guys, we gotta talk about the next thing. We gotta get into the next topic. Because apparently, after the Nashville shooting, there has been a lot of conversation about guns in Tennessee. Because, you know, of course there would be. Except, I wasn't aware that we would start losing some of the agreed-upon principles of democracy in the process of this. I wasn't aware that was a thing that's going to be happening. Oh, boy. We'll get into that here in just a second. Let's get into the fan art section so we have that little bit of brevity before we get into the actual conversation. First bit of fan art we have here is from Kidderdoodle. Father, why must they elude me? I wish I knew, Greg. It's a work in progress for Holchan art because y'all make waifus out of everything these days. Also, Amazing Dad did. Thank you for redeeming your points for an owl. Next one we have here is also from Kidderdoodle, Suris and Nova playing Terraria. Aww. And we're both in little Kigus. Waffle Apocalypse, thank you for redeeming your points for an ara. You fucking DJ. As always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, please like, all that other fun stuff. The stuff that the algorithm wants you to do. Okay? Okay. Now, with that said, we got to talk about this. So, Tennessee House Republicans on Monday took steps towards expelling 3 Democratic state representatives after they participated in protests at the state capitol last Thursday, calling for more gun control in the wake of the deadly mass shooting at Nashville's Covenant School. GOP lawmakers filed 3 resolutions Monday, one each seeking the expulsions of Representatives Gloria Johnson of Knoxville, Justin Jones of Nashville, and Justin Pearson of Memphis, each of whom was already removed from their committee assignments after last week's demonstrations. The resolutions were filed by Republican Representatives Bud Halsey, Gino Bolzo, and Andrew Farmer. The 3 Democratic lawmakers led a protest on the House floor last Thursday, using a bullhorn as demonstrators called for lawmakers to do something to prevent further gun violence after 3 9-year-olds and 3 adults were killed in a mass shooting at a private Christian school last week. So, you know, isn't it great when we use our, First Amendment right to protest and then we get our jobs taken away? Isn't it great? And no, this is not the same thing as January 6th. There's a difference between a protest and an insurrection. But CNN reached out to Johnson, Jones, and Pearson. The 28-year-old shooter was armed with 3 guns and fired 152 rounds during the attack. Said, there comes a time when you have to do something out of the ordinary, said Jones. We occupied the House floor today after repeatedly being silenced from talking about the crisis of mass shootings. In a series of tweets Monday, Speaker of the House Cameron Sexton called the Democratic lawmakers' actions unacceptable, adding that they broke several rules of decorum and procedure on the House floor. Who cares? No, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. When we're talking about people who've, been shot and killed and all that other fun stuff, I understand that there's rules and regulations that are set up for lawmakers to do their job. I get it. But I have a hard time caring, because if you are a representative and your pleas have not been heard and they've been repeatedly ignored, also, Schlong Scholar, thank you for the follow. If they've been repeatedly ignored, it makes sense that eventually you would resort to more drastic measures. Things that would do something like, I don't know, get the news and media to cover what you're doing. That's just kind of what happens. That's human nature is what that is. CNN reached out to Sexton. The lawmakers themselves, however, appear defiant, with Johnson telling reporters that we've committed no crime. Johnson acknowledged they broke a rule by speaking out of turn, but stressed that we walked to the well to speak to people that begged for us to protect them. On Tuesday, Pearson publicly shared the letter he sent to House members, which he said he takes accountability for not following decorum on the House floor, but defends his actions. He says, "My walk to the House floor in a peaceful and civil manner was not an insurrection. I wanted to listen and respond to the voices of Tennesseans who were not given the opportunity to speak in a meaningful dialogue with us," Pearson wrote, according to an image that he shared later on Instagram. "If this House decides to expel me for exercising our sacred First Amendment right to help elevate the voices in our community who want to see us act to prevent gun violence, then do as you feel you must." House Democrats expressed solidarity with the trio in a statement Monday, saying that the caucus stood firmly united with them. I mean, that doesn't mean a whole lot, though, if they're still going to end up losing their jobs. The Democratic caucus has unanimously, formally voted to oppose the baseless resolutions for expulsion and will zealously oppose them should they come up in a vote on the House floor, the statement said. Efforts to expel the 3 House members are considered morally bankrupt by the Tennessee Black Caucus of state legislatures, and that was said in a statement on Tuesday. Said the political retribution is unconstitutional, caucus chairman and Democratic Representative Sam McKenzie said in a statement. "We fundamentally object to any effort to expel members from making their voices heard to end gun violence. The House Speaker should be leading bipartisan discussions to generate reforms that could stop the next school shooting." Guys, bipartisan reform will not stop the next school shooting. I'm sorry, but it won't. No. We're gonna stop. We're gonna stop for a second, and we're gonna take a moment to acknowledge the fact that Republicans, the GOP, have been bought out by the NRA, the National Rifle Association. They have been bought out a long time ago. There is no reformation at all that the GOP will accept in a bipartisan agreement that will have any effect on gun violence in the United States. Because gun violence in the United States is a grift. I'm going to go ahead and put on my tinfoil hat for a moment. Guys, if the gun lobby wants to sell you more guns, what is the easiest way to do that? Well, convince you that you need defending from people who also have guns. So, how do you convince people that they need defending from people who have guns? Well, you pump a lot of guns into the community. Now, while we can accept that there are a variety of factors that lead to people to engage in school shootings, that lead to people to engage in mass shootings, that lead to people to engage in gun violence, the end result is stochastic. Throw enough guns into the soup that is America, and eventually violence is going to happen. We've got a pretty fucked up education system, and we've got a pretty fucked up system for dealing with our own in general. We don't treat American citizens very well, by and large. We don't pay them enough. We don't give them health care. We don't give them good opportunities. By and large, America is a very, very functional country, in quotation marks. So, take a country that has a lot of civil unrest, a lot of divide politically, throw a bunch of guns into the system, and then what do you have? Well, you're gonna have gun violence happen at some point. So when you have gun violence happen at some point, you're gonna have people who want to defend themselves against that violence, and the only real reasonable way to defend yourself against a gun is another gun. This is, after all, one of the reasons I have a gun, to defend myself from people who might come to me with guns, because it's only reasonable. So the reality of the situation is, yes, you are less likely to be harmed if you yourself are able to defend yourself. But this is a lovely cyclical system that the gun lobby is able to utilize, and has always been able to utilize. If you want people to buy more guns, buy more memberships for rifle associations, engage more in the gun culture, all you have to do is convince American citizens that they're not safe. What's the usual rhetoric that we hear? The only solution to a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun? Almost as if it all comes part and parcel. Almost as if the solution and the problem being the same thing works really well for people who are trying to sell you both. That's how that works. Now, again, that's my tinfoil hat. I could be very wrong there, and everything I just said, I mentioned it was tinfoil hatty because I wanted it to be clear that is speculation on my part. All of that is. But I bring it up because I don't feel like it's necessarily baseless. I don't. The House Speaker should be leading bipartisan discussions to generate reforms that could stop the next school shooting. The whole reason that I even went on that rant is, again, the gun lobby bought out the GOP a long time ago. I'm sorry, you're not going to get a bipartisan solution there. You're just not. Instead, they're using their power to silence people who are calling for solutions that he opposes. A vote on whether to expel these members is slated for Thursday, according to the Tennessean. The representatives will have a chance to defend themselves, the newspaper reported. So I guess that's going to be a thing that we might be following up again later. We will see. But I found out about this from this particular TikTok right here.
There is an emergency crisis of democracy happening in the state of Tennessee right now. In the wake of the death of 6 people at the Covenant School in Tennessee, thousands of student protesters have flooded the Capitol, holding protests demanding gun control and safer schools. The protests have been entirely peaceful with no reported injuries. And again, this is one of the largest student-led protests in our recent history. And the House Speaker of Tennessee's legislature has now equated this protest asking for safe schools with the January 6th insurrection.
Which is an absolutely fucking stupid thing to do. Again, I pointed out earlier that an insurrection and a protest are 2 different things.
Major supporters of this protest are 3 democratically elected representatives from Nashville, Memphis, and Knoxville. And here's what happened to them today.
So what's going on here in Tennessee today?
So 3 of us lawmakers who stood with our constituents demanding that they take action, and here that thousands of people gathered on Thursday talking about the crisis of mass shootings. We've been kicked off our committees as representatives elected by our constituents. Each of us represents 78,000 people, and our people are being silenced because they're kicking us off committees. They're threatening to take a vote to expel us today. Our member ID badges have been shut off. Our representative ID badges have been shut off. And this is not what democracy looks like. You know, we are elected to serve our constituents, and I'm the youngest Democratic lawmaker here, the most diverse district, and by shutting me down, they're shutting down the voice of my constituents. So this is one of my constituents, Ms. Brooks, and so whose family was hit, and you know, a victim of the Walk House mass shooting, and so we're here to speak for them, and they wouldn't even let us speak for our people. They wouldn't let us talk on the floor. They shut our microphones off. They shut our voting machines off. We couldn't even talk about the issue, and so when we went to the well to force the issue, they called us insurrectionists and are now trying to expel us from the legislature.
Which is incredibly fucked up. Again, the First Amendment is supposed to be that really, really important, amazing thing that we have in the United States, and we're usually told to defend our first with our second. So I guess if guns aren't getting involved, then what do you do? What are you supposed to do here? Weird that. Strange that. In the United States, we are told, ostensibly, that we have free speech, and free speech is very, very important, and therefore we need to make sure that we... Constance, that was a joke. That's what that is. That was a joke. The green hair, bet she has pronouns too. That's it. That's an old fucking joke. Anyway, everyone has pronouns, Shadow. Everyone has pronouns. The First Amendment is supposed to be very important in the United States. It's supposed to be. But by and large, the GOP has proven that it's really only important to them if they can pay lip service to it. The reality is, they are more than willing to silence the voices of people who they disagree with, so long as it will guarantee that they get their way. And in this case, that's the way of the gun lobby. Should have done the /S? No, I don't think that tone indicators are always required. I think people should socialize more. Everyone has pronouns until a Fae asks you yours, and you tell them. If the Fae asks you your name, they go away. Your name is gone. It disappears. The Fae has eaten it. I've been reading too many of Dresden books. I'm on book 9. I'm on Silly Shinobi, I swear to fucking God. Silly Shinobi has dropped 50,001 channel points for an whoa. Yeah, it's when we're talking about democracy being taken away in school shootings. That's the time. That's the time to drop that. Anyways. Guys, this is a fucked up situation. It really is. I don't know what more I can say besides... Oh, Void B, thank you very much for the follow. I don't know what more I can say besides Republican lawmakers in Tennessee are the same ones that tried to put in a bill that had just accidentally in it a clause that allowed for child marriage. And yet, apparently, they think that it's appropriate to just get rid of Democratic lawmakers. I don't know what to tell you. Seems like a pretty shitty fucking situation to me. I'm on book 9 with Maiden of the Abyss. Awesome, Pinky Pie. Also, thank you very much for the 100 bits. For people who advocate for free speech, this is really stupid. Yeah. Yeah, it is. But that said, everybody, let me know what you think of the... Wow, brain is fried. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already. And as always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here.